Hi, today's good person to know is Emma Dunn. She's content strategist at Calabar, and her talk is on why people like sharing stuff online. Emma says it's about social currency, about looking cool, smart and in the know in front of our friends and social networks. She says content should be unexpected because if something is surprising and exciting, we want to share the moment and talk about it. She also said that it needs to trigger an emotion. Now, I didn't see how this was any different from being unexpected, but Emma did say that some emotions get shared more than others, the most popular being anger because it raises our heartbeat. She also says how useful is it because it needs to address a specific need so that when somebody reads it or sees it, they have another person in mind that they can share it with so they can make their lives easier. She also says identity was a really important factor because it tells the world about ourselves and what we represent. And finally, it's about storytelling because ultimately we like sharing a good story. So if you can incorporate all of these factors into your content, I can't see why somebody won't share that too. So I hope you enjoy this video and thank you for watching.
I want you to make content for me and I want you to definitely, absolutely make it go viral. It doesn't always work that way. Why people share stuff? Because there are actually some key psychological factors that do play a role in this. And if we can identify those factors, then we can actually make ourselves luckier. So the first aspect I want to talk to you today about is social currency. Now, people love to look cool in front of their friends. If they've got an online social profile, they do essentially have an online brand, and sharing content is a way to manage that brand. People like to share stuff that makes them look cool, makes them look smart, makes them look in the know. This is an image that I took a couple weeks ago from a feed called I Fucking Love Science on Facebook. It's a really popular feed, 17 million followers, and this image performed particularly well. It got shared 20,000 times. In comparison, Facebook's own Facebook feed has 154 million, roughly, followers. Whereas the content that they create gets shared roughly 5,000 to 10,000 times. Compare that to the 20,000 with only 17 million followers, and you find that the rate of sharing is a lot higher. Now, why? Simply because this has got a very bold statement. It says, I'm loaded and I'm not afraid to use it, which basically, in paraphrasing, means I'm smart. If you put that image on your Facebook feed, you're basically saying to your followers, your friends, your family, I've got a brain in here and I'm not afraid to use it. I'm smart. So it kind of makes the person look good, makes them look better in front of their friends. It was the Thai version of Britain's Got Talent, and this beautiful Thai woman came out onto the stage, and she had a perfect makeup, got a gorgeous long hair, and an absolutely gorgeous dress, and she started singing. And it was the most beautiful singing voice that I've ever heard, until she got to the second verse, and her voice dropped several octaves. Turns out she was actually a man. But because she looked so pretty and so lovely, it was such surprising content, I immediately shared it with all my followers and my friends. To kind of bring it closer to home, you might remember Susan Boyle, one of the most viral videos on YouTube, I think, for a long time. And it's the same thing. She came up on stage and she kind of had this certain appearance, and you kind of had that impression of her, but then as soon as she opened her mouth and sang, it was absolutely glorious. And you could even see Amanda, you could even see her face drop. It was hugely surprising. So there was no wonder that it was shared so often. Bring it into context of a brand. I really like this piece of content that was done by LG. It was basically set in Chile, and a bunch of people, interview prospects, came for a job interview. And then halfway through the interview, we saw through the window a meteor hurtling towards them. Now, obviously, they capped it, and they ran to the floor, and then it was only then that they were told it was an LG TV. So that's a really surprising art, but it's a way to kind of bring your brand back into the story of that surprising art. Really good content has to trigger emotions, but what we find is that actually certain emotions work better than others. You find that content that either makes you sad or makes you feel kind of satisfied, content, doesn't get shared as much. Whereas stuff that makes you obviously surprised, makes you scared, makes you angry, or makes you chuckle, actually gets shared more. And the reason is because the ones here on the right are all higher arousal emotions. They actually physically get the heart beating faster. And for some reason, that makes people hit the share button a lot more. If you try to create something that's useful to everyone, it loses its potency a little bit. If you can actually address a specific need for a specific niche, then it actually works a lot better. Here's an example. This is an infographic from Design Mantic. It got shared over 2,000 times, and I was one of those 2,000. Basically, it's 10 commandments of typography. And I shared this with our creative team because I thought it would be really useful for them in terms of creating content that involves text, typography, and they were grateful for it. If you can create content that makes people think, actually, I know somebody that would find that useful, then they're more likely to share it with them. This is a huge one for me. To be honest with you, this is probably one of the biggest ones. As I said before, people have an online brand that they like to manage. They want to make themselves look good, but they also want to tell the world about themselves. Now, say what you like about BuzzFeed, but they do this very, very well. This is an article called 23 Most Scottish Things That Ever Happened. As you can probably tell from my voice, that does resonate with me quite a bit. And when I got to the end of this, I did have a small tear in my eye, and I did share it with my friends. You've got to target a specific niche if you want to get those share numbers up. Sure, your target audience will be a lot less, but the share rates will go up, and you'll connect more, but even though it is a smaller audience. People love sharing a good story. Now, you probably all remember Pony 2012. It was a half-an-hour-long video done by an organisation called Invisible Children that called for the arrest or capture of warlord Joseph Kony. And this was one of the most viral videos of all time. I think Time magazine called it one of the most viral videos of all time. Within the days of its release, over half of American young adults had heard of this campaign. Why? Because the half-an-hour video crafted together such a compelling narrative, such a compelling story. Now, say what you like about it. I know that there was controversy afterwards about the legitimacy of it, and the attention did die down over time, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it was shared nearly, it was viewed nearly 100 million times on YouTube. This was basically a map that encouraged people to share what they thought was the most beautiful country in the world. And this went massive because it tapped into people's identity on a level of nationality. And people seem to be really, really proud of where they come from. And they were sharing it like mad, saying, make sure our country wins, make sure our country wins. And incidentally, it was Latvia that won because they were the most vocal about this piece. And this got shared over 55,000 times. So really tapping into somebody's identity really does work.